This Chat with the Experts is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. I am Kyle Hawk, and I've been joined on the show today by Judd Haig of Bone Dry Roofing here in Indianapolis, and we've talked all about your home's lid and how to keep it in top shape once you've paid for a roof replacement. Are we done with the show yet? Of course not. It's time for us to turn our attention to the Writer's Block segment, where we welcome on Angie's List staff writer Tom Lange, who's going to join us to talk about how to budget for home repairs. And Tom recently wrote an article titled Setting a Budget for Home Maintenance and Repairs. And as we discussed already today, the roof can be a pretty pricey job to tackle, but sooner or later you're going to have to do it, and that's why we've got Tom with us today. He's got all the information you need about how to plan ahead for home maintenance and what you can do to start an emergency fund so that sudden home repairs don't become an unbearable burden. Tom, welcome back to Chat with the Experts.
Thanks for having me back.
You know, each time we've had you on, we always start the discussion with movies, and now that the Oscars are out of the way and it's time to think about 2016, are there some movies that you're really looking forward to this year?
You know, 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think is going to be a good one. I never saw the original Cloverfield.
Whoa.
I know I'm one of the three people that's the case for. But there's something about this new trailer. The cast looks great, just that mix of humor but also terror. And it's always intriguing when there's a film premise or buzz and you know almost nothing about it.
Yeah.
And just the being able to discover that. So
yeah, excellent.
that's absolutely next on the list for the theater. But beyond that, quite honestly, I still have Oscar screeners to catch up with.
That's right.
Sicario slipped through the cracks, also straight out of Compton. And it's probably not out yet, but I heard nothing but great things about Hail Caesar. So once that's out on Blu-ray, those are the priorities.
Excellent. Looks like you got a lot of good stuff coming your way.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be talking about budgeting for home repairs on the show today. As I mentioned, you recently wrote a really great article on it. And budgeting is obviously important for all parts of our life. What makes it so vital when it comes to home repairs?
You know, home repairs tend to be one of those expenses that you don't think about until suddenly the furnace breaks down, your roof starts leaking, or the shower drain backs up. These are not the fun purchases to plan for, but when it's something around the house that needs to be repaired, usually it's something that you're going to need to pay for immediately. And so when that's the case, it really does save you some stress and some time if you know where the money's coming from in advance.
Yeah, for sure. So who did you speak with as you were putting this article together?
Spoke with a gentleman named Greg Ferguson. He is a financial advisor out of Minneapolis. Greg tends to specialize in helping individuals and helping families sort of set and accomplish their financial goals, whether that's the setting up of the emergency fund, planning for retirement, or trying to figure out how you're going to put your kid through college.
Yeah. You mentioned the emergency fund, and we alluded to that at the start of this segment. Talk with us a little bit about why that's so important.
Sure. Well, the emergency fund really is exactly what it sounds like. It's the money that's set aside for an untimely, unexpected event. Again, sooner or later, something is going to break down around your home that's likely going to cost a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s. The emergency fund ensures there's at least something there to get the ball rolling to pay for that.
Yeah. So is there a good amount that you should set your eyes on to have in the emergency fund, or even ways that you can go about setting aside money to put into the emergency fund?
Yeah, you know, the general rule of thumb is you want to save enough to be able to cover between 3 and 6 months worth of expenses. That's really something that's going to come in handy. Again, if you do have something that breaks down around the house, or if there's a situation with a job or with employment, that ensures you're going to be able to at least kind of stay afloat in the interim. Sure. To be able to get to that point every month, if you can find a way to set aside maybe between $400 to $600 a month, that's going to put you in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So let's say worst case scenario, I'm listening today, I decide, you know what, I'm going to start an emergency fund, but before I even have a chance, something happens. Is there any last resort option that you can turn to?
at the end of the day, worst case scenario, if you've got a credit card, that will sort of get you through in the short term. Again, the furnace breaks down, the roof starts leaking. You have to take care of that immediately. The credit card will get the contractor, get the repair person paid. But what you have to keep in mind, obviously, is you're also going to be on the hook for whatever the interest rate is for that card.
Right.
So there's going to be a little bit more pressure to get that paid off.
Yeah, no question. One of the things we talk about in making home improvements, whether it's an emergency situation or just an aesthetic upgrade that you're making, is trying to get a solid resale value on your home and making a change. So should you expect to get dollar for dollar increases on your property value for any upgrades or repairs that you do make to your home?
Probably not. It would be wonderful if that were the case, getting that sort of a return on the investment. But typically, it would be wonderful to be able to invest $50,000 into your home, and then suddenly your property value increases by $50,000.
Sure.
Realistically, though, it's going to be a lot less. You want to be able to plan for something along the line as conservative as maybe 10 cents on the dollar.
Okay.
It might not be that low, but whenever you're making renovations, or especially if you're making repairs, increasing the property value isn't going to want to be at the top of your list.
Yeah. Now, for major upgrades, is a home equity loan going to be a viable solution?
Definitely, especially if you're looking into something that's going to potentially cost tens of thousands of dollars. This is absolutely something to consider. The home equity loan is essentially a loan for homeowners making repairs or making renovations. But as with anything else, before you borrow the money, you really are going to want to assess your budget, assess the state of your finances, find out whether or not you're in the right kind of shape to be able to borrow money.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do you know if taking that loan is actually going to be the right choice? I mean, what should you be looking out for beforehand?
Sit down with your budget. It may even be worth chatting with a financial advisor over, but specifically take a look at what your spending habits are each month. If at the end of every month you have a few $100s left over, it's not going to be as big of a burden to transfer that to make a monthly loan payment. If you're on the verge of paying off your car, again, that's a few $100 extra that potentially are going to free up. On the other hand, if you're driving a car that's already 20 years old, you're going to need to be making car payments in the immediate future, then that's going to be something else to consider. You may not have an extra few $100 lying around every month.
Yeah, this is all really important stuff to think about. We've done budgeting and financial talks on this show before, and maybe easy to think that thinking about your home is a completely different conversation, but it's really not. This stuff is all intertwined as you think about your finances and where that money's going to need to go, and it's really vital to think about your home and emergency funds as you're having those conversations. As we close up today on the show, I want to talk about a completely different thing than home repairs, because you had an article on teaching your parents about streaming services.
Yes.
I thought this was incredible. Where did the idea for that come from?
This was one of those great stories that as we were kicking the idea around the newsroom, we just sort of realized that streaming services are really taking off. And even if you are trying to stay in the know for all of the options, it's really almost impossible just to stay current.
Sure.
You've got Netflix, you've got Hulu, you've got Amazon, you've got HBO Go, you've got CBS has a streaming service. There are the standalone services, and then there are also cable companies and broadcast companies that are creating their own. So we thought it would be kind of interesting just to create a guide if you're walking your parents or walking anyone who maybe grew up in the VHS age and doesn't realize the breadth of all of their options. How do you get them started without breaking the bank?
Yeah. So what are some important items, I guess, that you should be discussing before you cut the cord?
Probably the two big ones would be assess the technology, find out what you've got to work with. Absolutely, you're going to want to make sure that you've got internet with enough broadband. You're going to want to see what sort of devices that you have or want to use. Few people I know want to stream everything and watch on their computer or smartphone.
Sure.
So, see if your TV is already set up for streaming, or if you need to purchase any accessories ways to make that happen. And then really just think about what you want to watch. If you're really into binge watching TV, then check to see if Amazon or Hulu or something like that has the shows that you're interested in. If it's movies specifically, Netflix might be a little bit more what you're interested in. And then also just take a look at what you already have. HBO, if you've subscribed to HBO, then you're able to stream HBO. So there's really nothing else you have to do. So think about what you want to watch, think about what you can watch, and then take it from there.
And obviously, in writing this article, you're very, very knowledgeable on the options, and you're a big movie buff yourself. Have you cut the cord and are solely streaming, or? I
have. I will. Right now, Netflix pretty much has most of what I need. They're going to update that monthly, so I'm the guy who at the end of every month is checking. Okay, what's leaving Netflix?
Right.
What do I? It's finally time to watch French Connection. I've put it off long enough, but look, Scarface is coming back, so you lose something and you gain something.
Yeah, very good. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That's going to do it for today's show. You can check out Tom's articles and a whole lot more at angieslist.com. If you want reviews on service providers, hit join now. Use promo code WIBC40. Thank you so much for joining us on Chat with the Experts. I'm Kyle Hawk, and we'll catch you next time.
More than 2 million members use the power of Angie's List to find and hire great local service providers. Whether you need a plumber or a pet sitter, Angie's List has you covered. See ratings and reviews in hundreds of categories, shop popular offers, and request scheduling assistance directly online. Memberships start at just $9.99 per year. That's less than $1 a month. Join now and get 40% off with promo code WIBC40. Visit angieslist.com today.